Most people die long before their bodies ever touch the grave. They drift through life in a fog of wasted days and unfulfilled potential, waiting for some grand moment to change everything. But that moment never comes. They search for the explosion that will redefine their existence, ignoring the quiet, brutal truth. Greatness is built by inches, not miles. And every day you fail to improve, you are actively choosing mediocrity. The tragedy is not that people fail to reach their goals. The tragedy is that they abandon the process before it even begins. They look for shortcuts, quick fixes, miraculous transformations, instead of embracing the simple but relentless grind of daily improvement. The Stoics understood this with a clarity that modern society has all but forgotten. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Waste no more time arguing about what a good man should be one." Those words are a challenge, not to transform yourself overnight, but to improve yourself by the smallest of margins. Every single day. The power of 1% improvement is not a theory, it's a weapon. When wielded with discipline, it can tear down obstacles that seem insurmountable. But the catch is this: most people lack the patience to wield it. They quit too early. They look at their progress and scoff at its insignificance, never realizing that the only way to achieve greatness is through the steady, unyielding accumulation of small victories. If you are waiting for motivation to strike you like lightning, you are wasting your life. True power is built through action, not inspiration. Every day you choose to remain idle is a day you are choosing to fail. And make no mistake, inaction is a choice. Procrastination is a decision. It is the decision to abandon your own potential. The Stoics believe that you either act or you decay. There is no middle ground. To stand still is to fall behind. To delay is to wither. What you are about to learn are principles that will teach you how to improve yourself relentlessly, with the precision of a craftsman and the discipline of a warrior. Principles that will transform every hour of your day into an opportunity for growth. If you are ready to break free from mediocrity, if you are tired of watching your potential rot while you wait for the perfect moment, then this is your call to action. Subscribe to Victory Stoic right now. Like this video if you are ready to seize control of your life. Comment below with your war cry, 1% every day, or share your own story of transformation. This is the place where weakness is destroyed and strength is built. Let's begin. Number 1, the compounding effect. Small habits, monumental victories. Greatness is not built through explosive moments of brilliance. It is forged through countless small actions, repeated relentlessly until they transform you. The Stoics understood that the path to mastery is not a sprint, but a slow, deliberate grind. Zeno of Citium, the founder of Stoicism, wrote, "Well-being is attained little by little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself." The message is clear. True progress is gradual, not sudden, and the power of consistency is unmatched. Consider Ethan, a 38-year-old software engineer living in Seattle. Ethan always wanted to break away from his mundane job and build something of his own, a personal project that would bring him fulfillment and financial freedom. For years, he would start new ventures with explosive energy, dedicating entire weekends to coding marathons or learning the latest technologies. But the fire always burned out before anything substantial could be created. He was stuck in a cycle of starting and abandoning. The same pattern repeated itself for years. Passion followed by burnout, excitement followed by disillusionment. His problem was not a lack of talent or intelligence. His problem was his obsession with immediate results. He wanted greatness to emerge from his efforts overnight, and when it didn't, he quit. One day, while browsing through philosophical writings, Ethan stumbled upon the words of Zeno. "Well-being is attained little by little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself." The simplicity of the statement struck him. What if he approached his ambitions not as massive projects demanding sudden breakthroughs, but as gradual processes built through daily effort? Intrigued by the concept of compounding improvement, Ethan decided to implement a new system. He would dedicate just 1 hour every single day to his personal project, no more, no less. His rule was simple: consistency over intensity. Even on days when he felt unmotivated, tired, or distracted, he forced himself to work for that single hour. The initial results were underwhelming. A few lines of code written here, a few concepts learned there. But something unexpected happened. As the weeks passed, Ethan began to see measurable progress. His project was slowly but steadily coming to life. Instead of burning out after a burst of inspiration, he found himself gaining momentum. And that momentum began to compound. Modern psychology supports what the Stoics preached centuries ago. The concept of the compounding effect is not limited to financial growth. It applies equally to skills, habits, and personal development. In psychology, this principle is known as behavioral consistency, the idea that small, repeated actions accumulate over time to create profound change. James Clear, author of Atomic Habits, describes this phenomenon as the aggregation of marginal gains. Instead of aiming for a single massive transformation, Clear advocates for improving by just 1% every day. This might sound insignificant, but the mathematics are staggering. A 1% improvement each day results in a 37-fold improvement over a single year. It is the power of incremental growth amplified over time. Ethan applied this principle with relentless discipline. Every day without exception, he dedicated 1 hour to his project. He tracked his progress, measuring lines of code written, new concepts mastered, and milestones achieved. As the months rolled on, his project began to take shape. What had once been an incoherent mess of ideas gradually evolved into a functioning application. The beauty of the compounding effect is that it works in all areas of life. Fitness, finances, relationships, learning, everything is governed by the same fundamental principle. If you commit to small, consistent actions, the results will accumulate exponentially. But the secret lies in the consistency itself. Most people fail not because their goals are too ambitious, but because they lack the patience to see the process through. They abandon their efforts before the compounding effect has a chance to take hold. Ethan's breakthrough was not the result of sudden brilliance. It was the result of showing up every single day, regardless of how he felt or how much progress he made. The Stoics believed that the journey itself was more important than the destination. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "The impediment to action advances action. What stands in the way becomes the way." Obstacles are not meant to be avoided. They are meant to be confronted, embraced, and eventually overcome through persistence. Ethan's project was not a success because he found a magical formula or experienced a sudden burst of genius. It was a success because he learned to embrace the grind, to value small steps instead of waiting for massive leaps. And this mindset shift transformed not only his work, but his entire life. Practical strategies for applying the compounding effect. 1. Set daily quotas. Define a small, achievable goal to accomplish every day. This could be writing 500 words, exercising for 30 minutes, learning one new concept, or saving a fixed amount of money. 2. Track your progress. Keep a journal or digital log where you record each day's progress. Measure small victories, not just monumental achievements. 3. Embrace imperfection. Accept that not every day will be productive or perfect. What matters is consistency, not perfection. The imperfect effort today is better than waiting for the perfect effort tomorrow. 4. Review and adjust. Every week, review your progress. Identify areas where you can improve but never stop moving forward. 5. Visualize growth. Instead of focusing on the end result, focus on the daily process. Remind yourself that each small step compounds into something greater over time. Ethan's success was not born from extraordinary talent or perfect conditions. It emerged from the unyielding discipline to improve by a small amount each day. What once felt impossible became inevitable. The compounding effect is not magic. It is the relentless application of effort over time. Zeno's words remain as powerful today as they were centuries ago. Well-being is attained little by little, and nevertheless is no little thing itself. Greatness is not an event. It is a process. And that process begins with a single step, repeated until it becomes a force too powerful to be stopped. Number 2. Purging negative thoughts. Control your mind before it controls you. Your mind is your most powerful weapon, but left unchecked, it can become your greatest enemy. Negative thoughts are not mere inconveniences, they are poison. They corrode your ambitions, paralyze your actions, and drag you into a cycle of failure and self-doubt. The Stoics understood this better than most. Marcus Aurelius wrote, "Reject your sense of injury and the injury itself disappears." This was not mere optimism. It was a tactical approach to mental mastery. If you can control your thoughts, you can control your life. Fail to do so, and your thoughts will control you. Consider Sarah, a 34-year-old advertising executive from Chicago. She was good at her job, some even called her exceptional. But every time she faced criticism, no matter how mild, it shattered her. A single negative comment from a client or a supervisor would spiral into a mental monologue of self-doubt and insecurity. I'm not good enough. They're going to replace me. I'll never succeed. These thoughts became automatic, each one building upon the last until her confidence eroded to nothing. She tried affirmations, motivational speeches, even therapy, but nothing seemed to work. The problem was not her ability, her intelligence, or her skill. The problem was her mind's addiction to negativity. It fed on doubt, amplified it, and played it back to her on repeat. She would lie awake at night, replaying mistakes over and over again until they grew into monstrous failures she could never hope to overcome. One afternoon, while scrolling through articles on resilience and mental toughness, she came across a quote from Marcus Aurelius. "Reject your sense of injury, and the injury itself disappears." It hit her like a punch to the chest. She realized that her pain was not coming from the criticism itself, but from her interpretation of that criticism. It was her own mind that had turned a single mistake into an unforgivable offense. The injury was not real. It was a fabrication of her own thoughts. Modern psychology confirms what Marcus Aurelius understood centuries ago. Cognitive behavioral therapy, CBT, one of the most effective psychological treatments for anxiety and depression, is built upon the principle that thoughts influence emotions and behaviors. Negative thoughts, when left unchecked, can create destructive emotional states, leading to cycles of inaction, procrastination, and despair. The mind becomes trapped in what psychologists call a negative feedback loop. The process is simple. An event occurs, like Sarah receiving criticism from her boss. Her mind immediately generates a negative thought: I'm not good enough. That thought triggers feelings of anxiety and self-doubt. Those feelings, in turn, cause her to perform poorly on her next project, which reinforces the original thought. The cycle continues until it becomes her reality. The Stoics didn't have the language of modern psychology, but they understood the principle perfectly. They knew that if you could control your thoughts, you could break free from the chains of negative feedback loops. The key was to purge negative thoughts before they could take root. Sarah decided to approach her mental struggles the way a Stoic warrior would approach battle. She began keeping a journal, but not a typical diary of events. Instead, she documented her thoughts with surgical precision. Every time a negative thought emerged, she wrote it down. By externalizing her thoughts, she was able to see them for what they truly were: distortions of reality, not reality itself. Once she identified a negative thought, she applied a technique known in CBT as cognitive restructuring. She would challenge the thought with a series of questions. Is this thought based on evidence or assumption? What would I say to a friend who had this thought? How would I feel if I rejected this thought and replaced it with something more constructive? By forcing herself to answer these questions, Sarah discovered that most of her negative thoughts were baseless or exaggerated. The criticism from her boss was not a condemnation of her abilities. It was feedback meant to help her improve. Her fear of being replaced was nothing more than insecurity magnified by her own mind. Over time, this process became second nature. Whenever a negative thought appeared, she dissected it with ruthless precision. She stripped it of its power by confronting it directly. The change was gradual but profound. Sarah's confidence grew. She no longer feared criticism. She welcomed it as an opportunity to refine her skills. Psychologists call this approach metacognition, the ability to think about your own thinking. The Stoics practiced it naturally, understanding that the mind must be disciplined before it can be trusted. Epictetus taught, men are disturbed not by things, but by the views which they take of them. Negative thoughts are not inevitable, they are choices. And choices can be changed, but purging negative thoughts is not a one-time effort. It requires vigilance, discipline, and relentless practice. Sarah made it a habit to review her journal every night, examining her thoughts like a general analyzing a battlefield. She identified patterns, weaknesses, and areas for improvement, and with each day, her mind grew stronger. Practical strategies for purging negative thoughts. 1. Thought journaling. Keep a notebook or digital document where you record every negative thought as it arises. Write it down word for word. This will help you separate your thoughts from reality. 2. Cognitive restructuring. Challenge each negative thought by asking, is this based on fact or assumption? What evidence supports or contradicts it? What would be a healthier, more constructive thought to replace it with? 3. Daily reflection. At the end of each day, review your journal, identify recurring negative thoughts, and work to eliminate them. 4. Visualization. Whenever you feel overwhelmed by negative thoughts, visualize yourself throwing them into a fire, watching them burn until nothing remains. 5. Action over thought. When a negative thought lingers, act immediately. Action breaks the cycle of negativity faster than rumination. Sarah's transformation was not the result of a single moment of inspiration. It was the result of consistent, deliberate effort to purge negative thoughts before they could take control. She did not eliminate all negativity from her mind, no one can. But she mastered her thoughts to the extent that they no longer dictated her actions. She had become a stoic warrior, wielding her mind like a sword. Your thoughts are not your enemies, but if left unchecked, they can become your captors. The Stoic approach to life is not about denying pain or suffering. It is about mastering the mind that perceives them. And if you can control your thoughts, you can control your destiny. Number 3. Daily targets. The art of breaking down the impossible ambition without direction is nothing but a fevered dream. Most people fail not because their goals are too ambitious, but because their plans are vague, undefined, and sprawling. They set grand objectives, yearning for transformation, but their vision is so expansive that they never take the first step. The secret to achieving anything monumental is to break it down into pieces so small they feel almost trivial. Marcus Aurelius understood this truth. Do every act of your life as though it were the very last act of your life. Those words are not just a reminder of mortality. They are a commandment to focus on the present moment with ruthless precision. Not tomorrow's achievement, not next year's glory, but today's action. Consider David, a 45-year-old architect living in Denver. His dream was colossal, designing his own skyscraper. Something iconic, something that would leave his mark on the city's skyline forever. For years, the ambition haunted him, a desire so immense it became paralyzing. Every time he tried to plan, the scope of the project overwhelmed him. Blueprints discarded, ideas left half-formed. He chased perfection but found only frustration. One night, drowning his disappointment in whiskey, David vented his frustration to a mentor, a retired architect who had built some of the city's most recognizable structures. The old man listened patiently, then said, "You're failing because you're obsessed with the finish line. But every building, no matter how massive, is just a collection of smaller parts. Foundations, beams, walls, windows. The skyscraper only exists because someone was willing to lay one brick at a time." The words clung to David's mind. They haunted him, not because they were harsh, but because they were true. He had been trying to build his skyscraper all at once, obsessing over the grandeur of the final result, without appreciating the process. The next morning, he made a decision. Instead of focusing on the entire project, he would break it down into the smallest tasks possible. Every day, he would accomplish one thing. It didn't matter how small or seemingly insignificant. What mattered was the progress. The first day, he sketched out a basic concept, just a rough outline, no perfection, no grandeur, just a start. The next day, he refined it. The day after, he researched materials. Piece by piece, the vision took shape, and something unexpected happened. His motivation grew, fueled not by the size of his ambition, but by the satisfaction of completing each small step. He became addicted to the process. The skyscraper was no longer a single, overwhelming goal. It was a series of daily targets, simple, achievable, meaningful. His confidence grew because he was no longer paralyzed by the enormity of the task. Instead, he found joy in the act of moving forward, no matter how small the steps seemed. Modern psychology calls this goal chunking, the practice of breaking down large, overwhelming tasks into manageable daily actions. Studies have shown that setting small, specific targets increases motivation, boosts confidence, and reduces procrastination. The brain rewards achievement, even if the achievement is minor. and each small victory becomes a stepping stone to something greater. For David, the transformation was profound. What had once felt impossible now felt inevitable. The skyscraper rose from the ground, not through flashes of brilliance, but through steady, disciplined progress. Months turned into years. But the building eventually stood tall, a testament to the power of daily targets. He reflected on the journey, remembering how many times he had abandoned the project before. How many nights he had wasted dreaming about perfection instead of embracing progress. And he realized that success was not the result of talent or inspiration. It was the result of persistence, applied day by day. Marcus Aurelius understood this when he advised, "Don't worry about the future. Act now. Decide now." The Stoics did not believe in waiting for the perfect moment. They believed in acting within the present, no matter how imperfect it might be. The greatest mistake people make is confusing ambition with action. Ambition is nothing without execution, and execution is nothing without a plan. The skyscraper is built from 1,000 tiny tasks, each one essential, each one deliberate. David's skyscraper became a landmark in Denver, a towering testament to his persistence. But what mattered most was not the building itself. It was the process that had transformed him from a dreamer into a builder. His success was born not from a single grand gesture, but from 1,000 small actions executed with relentless consistency. The Stoic conqueror understands that victory is not achieved in a single moment. It is earned through the accumulation of countless small efforts, applied with discipline and intention. What you do today matters, because today's action is the foundation upon which tomorrow's success will be built. When the mountain feels too high to climb, lower your gaze. Focus not on the peak, but on the next step, and then the next, and then the next. Each day build something. It doesn't matter how small. What matters is that you build. No tips, no shortcuts, only progress. Conclusion: improving yourself by just 1% every day may seem insignificant, almost trivial. But over time, those small efforts compound into something extraordinary. The Stoics understood this well. Their philosophy was never about achieving perfection in a single explosive moment. It was about steady, relentless progress, taking action, refining your thoughts, mastering your emotions, and strengthening your character every single day. Greatness is not built overnight. It is built through the accumulation of countless small victories. And when you embrace the power of consistent improvement, you become unstoppable. Each day, you grow stronger, wiser, more resilient. The obstacles that once seemed impossible become mere stepping stones on your journey to mastery. The true Stoic warrior understands that the path to success is not a straight line. It is a winding road, filled with setbacks, challenges, and failures. But those who persist, those who improve themselves just a little bit every day, will eventually achieve greatness. This is where we'll pause for now. Part 1 has covered the essential foundations, but there's still more to uncover. With so much ground to cover, we'll dive into the remaining 3 powerful lessons in Part 2. If you're ready to continue your journey to mastery, make sure to like, share, and subscribe to Victory Stoic. Comment below with your war cry, 1% every day, or share your progress so far. Stay tuned for Part 2. It's coming soon, and you won't want to miss it.